Welcome. This is Pam from Your Nurse Advocate Consulting. This is a recorded Tuesday tips. We had a little conflict with our schedule, so we're going to go ahead and record this. And I just want to say welcome. The topic that we're going to discuss this evening is we're going to talk about bringing your siblings together to care for an aging loved one. So this video might be for you if you're in the thick of things, trying to bring those siblings together to help share in the care of your aging parents, or it's for the family that's saying, you know what, mom and dad have maybe declined a little bit over the last couple of years. I think caring for mom and dad or mom, or dad is in the near future. So how do we bring our siblings together? We've got siblings that live in different states. We've got busy siblings. We've got siblings with family. How do we bring that together? How do we come together as a team? So that's what our Tuesday tips is. So if that's a topic that's going to interest you, stay with us and we're going to go ahead and jump in. And thanks for joining us. And here we go. So we're going to talk about 4 different key kind of strategies. And the focus for this first part is top communication strategies for siblings that are handling caregiving decisions. And so we're going to talk about 4 different sections or 4 different topics. We're going to talk about the foundation of communication, which is active listening. We're going to talk about setting boundaries for healthy communication. That's huge. And the third topic, we're going to talk about resolving conflict. What do we do? How do we handle that? So we're going to resolve conflict with empathy and hopefully some collaboration. And then the last section we're going to talk about is just kind of looking at the bigger picture and how can we actually strengthen our family bonds when a lot of families, we've got some families that are working like well-oiled machines, and we've got other families that have a lot of history that we need to do a little work. So the goal for everyone would be to, strengthen the family bonds. So let's go ahead and jump in. So let's look at the foundation of communication, which is active listening. And what do I mean by active listening? Active listening is when you're truly paying attention, when you're not listening to someone talk and you're scrolling on your phone. If you're on a Zoom, Skype, whatever virtual kind of call that you might be on, you don't have other windows open, you're not working on other things, you're actually listening. So we have a really great tool. One of the things that we suggest early on is to have that initial family caregiving meeting. And so I will put it in the description of the video, but we have a really nice free template. It's actually an agenda for a family meeting. It goes through all the things that you should bring up. It talks about siblings. It talks about zone of genius, identifying tasks. We're not going to get into all of those things for this lesson because this Tuesday Tips is basically focusing on communication. But that's a really great tool to help keep, how do you run this meeting, keep the conversations going and stay on track. So we have that available for you. So maybe one of the things when you have this initial discussion with your siblings about, starting the process or trying to fix the process is, during that family meeting, maybe you start out by allowing every sibling in some random order, whether it's oldest to youngest, youngest to oldest, whatever, but maybe give everybody 5 or 10 minutes to just say their piece. How do they think mom and dad's doing? What do they think they need? And how do they think that they could possibly help? What are they willing and not willing to do? And let everybody have 10 minutes, whether somebody has, just on their watch has a little timer. I mean, you don't have to be that specific, but we want to make sure that everybody's getting equal time and you're trying to stay on task. So that's one of the things that you can do. So when one of your siblings is talking, show active listening. Look them in the eye or look at the screen, nod your head, acknowledge when they say something that you agree with. Show them some signs that you are paying attention. If you don't understand something, you can say, Susie, I'm not quite sure I understand. This is what I'm hearing you say. And you repeat back, yada, 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 in your own words. And you say, Susie, is this what you're trying to say? And Susie will either say yes or no. And if you didn't get it right, then, ask Susie, can you please explain that again? Because a lot of things are lost in miscommunication. And that's where things can go south really quickly. And resentment, because if you hear something that Susie didn't think that she said, well, then that's, if you don't fix it right there and nip that right in the bud and get an understanding right there, then it's going to only get worse from there. So active listening. So we talked about eye contact. We talk about nodding your head, showing engagement. Yes, I understand. Yep, I get it. I think you're spot on. The other thing is really, really try not to interrupt. And sometimes it's really, really hard. It at times I've had to work really hard on that. Sometimes I worry, and people misunderstand you when you interrupt. I mean, I don't interrupt often because I'm trying to be rude or I want everybody to hear what I have to say. I get so passionate and I get so involved that sometimes I want to get it out of my mouth because I'm afraid 2 minutes from now I'm not going to remember what I wanted to say. And so people can misunderstand why you interrupt. And interruption is not good. And like I said, I've worked really hard at that. So try and I what I do now is I keep when I have these meetings or even with clients, what I do is when they're explaining things to me, I have a tablet, I have a legal pad next to me all the time, and I jot down if I have a question or a point that I want to make. I jot it down so that when they're done talking, I can go back and look at that piece of paper, and now I have a reminder of so that I don't forget what I wanted to say. So if that would help you, not interrupt, that has really helped me a lot. So those are some things that you can do to show that you are actively listening to what your siblings have to say. All right, the next thing is setting boundaries for healthy communication. Setting boundaries is a communication technique. I guess you could say it is about communicating, but it's communicating your boundaries on what, in this situation, on what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. What are your absolutes? Your absolute yes, I can do, and also your absolute no. I have a client that has a brother that they're sharing the care of their aging parents. And she says, I will take care of everything locally. I will take them to the doctor's office. I will do things. I will take them grocery shopping. I will do everything locally. But they have some relatives that they like to see a couple hours away. And she said, she told her brother, says that's, you can do that. I will take care of them, drive them around locally. If you can do whenever they have these trips, which aren't that often, you could take that. So, setting boundaries of what you can and what cannot do. And another example would be, maybe you're part of the sandwich generation, and maybe you've got high school kids. Maybe you've got a sophomore and a senior, and they're both heavy into sports, and this is a real important season for them in whatever sport that they're in. You might set a boundary and say, you know what, I know that I'm not going to be able to give my all when it comes to caring for mom and dad during, the basketball season, because I really don't want to miss the games, and we do a bit of traveling. But when the season is over with, I promise I will pick up some slack. So by setting boundaries and in giving your give and take, I will do this after, I will do this if you will do this, or I can't do this now, but I can do this after. That goes a long way in earning your respect, and again, setting boundaries so that everybody has clear expectations of who can do what and who can't do what, and what do we need to work around. Because you can't, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you can't um, impact your relationships in a negative way with your own family, as you come together as siblings or family members to take care of an aging loved one. So again, be realistic about what you can handle and don't overextend yourself. I have a real problem with saying no. And what happens when you can't ever say no, or you have trouble setting boundaries and expectations, is you take on more than you can handle. And that's happened to me over and over, especially earlier in my career. And I've learned to really look at what is realistic for me. And my husband is very grateful that I've started to do that, because he would get very frustrated because I was always overextended and always overcommitted. So take that into consideration. So, and then respect the boundaries that set by your siblings. You want them to respect your boundaries. So really try hard to respect theirs as well, and acknowledge their limitations. And, oh yeah, Susie, I know Sally's, this is an important season for her volleyball. This is her thing. We got you. When volleyball season is over, I've got this going on. So, I'll cover you. I got your back here if you can help me out a little bit when volleyball season is over. So just, again, a little respect, a little give and take, and set your boundaries. So what happens if siblings start to push back? And it can happen. You got to remember, you have no credibility with your siblings, with your family. I mean, they've seen you at your best. They've seen you at your worst. They've seen you probably at some point in your life in your underwear. And we just don't carry a lot of credibility with our family members. And so things can come up. And I expect that there might be some things that happened years ago when you were kids might come up during a conversation. So try and be very, very calm. This isn't the time to start throwing, cursing or bad language around. Try and be respectful, and just try and bring everybody back. Say, you know what, I know we've got issues that some day and time we need to work out, but this isn't the time and place. And I do want to get them resolved, but right now we came together to have this conversation on how we can come together for the shared goal of helping mom and dad. So try and bring it back to the reason why you're there. Make mom and dad the focus, and take the focus off some of the siblings that's going on, that where the conversation is drifted. Again, use calm. We talked about, respectful language, and it's difficult to handle these situations when things can get heated. And sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes you say, hey, time out. This conversation is not going where we need to go. Either, everybody take 5, come back to the computer, or you may say, hey, that's enough for tonight. We've made some progress. The conversation is, headed south. Let's pick this up in a couple of days, set a new day and time, and just call it quits. Sometimes it may come to that, but you're better off doing that than causing already more hard feelings. That's going to be even harder the next time you come together, because people are going to carry that baggage with them. So try and bring everybody back to the common cause. What's our team goal here? That's mom and dad, or whether it's grandma, grandpa, or another aging relative. So section 3 is resolving conflicts with empathy and collaboration. And so what is empathy? Empathy is the skill of being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and imagine how they would feel in that situation. That's empathy. Collaboration, on the other hand, is just what can we do to come together collectively as a group, everybody giving a little piece to the puzzle, and we finish the puzzle, we reach our goal because we all work together. And so that's the two important pieces for pulling together a family caregiving team. So one of the important things to do is recognize what are some common causes of conflict. And I can tell you, one of the most common causes of conflict when you're dealing in a family caregiving situation is differences of opinions on treatment of your aging loved one. Might have differencing of opinions of death and dying. Some people may say, oh, let nature take its course. Somebody might say, well, we've got to do everything humanly possible. Some people might like hospice. Some people might not. Some people want, real aggressive, let's go get second and third and a fourth opinion. There's got to be something else there could be a lot of varying opinions. And if in the beginning of the caregiving journey, if you work with your aging parents to get their affairs in order, get their wishes documented, put all those plans in place, it makes the sibling caregiving team, the decision-making process, a lot easier, because even though you may have differences of opinion on how you would want it to go for yourself, everybody should be able to come together and agree, this is what mom and dad want, this is what we're going to do, regardless of how we would want it for ourselves. we're going to honor mom's and dad's wishes. So it makes it very easy to make decisions because you're not, trying to pitch, um, your stance or your viewpoint, because there's nothing to pitch. We all agree that we do what mom and dad want. So those are some of the common things that come up as far as, and long distance caregiver. Oh, Susie lives, 3 states away, she can't help. And then that can foster some resentment because Susie lives 3 states away and Susie's saying, I feel really bad. That's my mom and dad. I can't help it. I live here. This is where my life is. But we're, again, for a topic for another discussion for Tuesday Tips, as we work through these sibling caregiving teams, is that there are a lot of things that can be done from a long distance. And so just a couple of things just to give you ideas: ordering groceries, having delivered groceries, making doctor's appointments, paying the bills, arranging transportation. There's a lot of things that can be done. And again, we're not going to get into that tonight during this Tuesday Tips. But these are things that then commonly can cause some conflict. It's important to address them head on. Don't avoid letting them fester. Let people stew on them. That's not good. Brainstorm solutions together. Don't say, no matter what happens, say, what, that shouldn't have happened. We can't go back and change that, but what can we do to fix it? How can we move forward? How can we together, and just start brainstorming some solutions? So brainstorm solutions instead of assigning blame, and focus on shared values and common goals, again, such as acting in the best interest of your parents. Why is empathy so important? Because it also shows that you're considering your siblings' perspective. Again, it lets them know that you really are trying to understand where they're coming from. And just a reminder too, caregiving can bring stress to everyone. This isn't going to be smooth sailing all the way through. There's going to be rocky times. There's going to be challenges. There's people's going to be tested to the limits at times. And yeah, I can't say that that's not going to happen, because we never know what tomorrow brings with our aging loved ones. And so just remembering what the focus is, and just agree, support each other, take time to take care of yourself, and really try and look at fixing and finding solutions rather than placing blame. All right, we talked about taking breaks. The other thing is sometimes family needs a mediator. Sometimes family relationships can be so broken, or maybe you've been estranged from a sibling for a while, but you really could use the help. They want to help, but you can't have 4 lone rangers, because there'll be no communication and the right hand's not going to know what the left hand's doing. So sometimes you need a third party to come in. There could be third party mediators, whether like it's a family counselor, something like that, a social worker that may be from the clinic, some person from your county's aging government office with your aging resources. They may have a county worker that can help, or someone like us, our patient advocate. Lynn and I are nurse advocates. We've done a lot of family mediation. And again, you have no credibility, and your sibling could say during your family meeting, the sky is really blue today. And someone's going to say, well, I don't think it's that blue. I think it's more gray. And you bring in a third party, you bring in myself or Linda, and we'll say, you know what, the sky is really blue. You know what, you are right. That sky really is blue. Don't let me explain it. I'm not a psychiatrist. It's human nature. It's how they call it the third party factor. And so sometimes just that third party just happens to just carry more weight. And sometimes it's beneficial to have that to help resolve some of the family conflict. All right, the last point we want to talk about is maintaining the bigger picture, strengthening family bonds, the importance of balancing caregiving with relationships. We don't want each sibling's relationship with their own personal family to suffer during this process. You have to take care of your family as well, your immediate family, your kids, grandkids, whatever. The other thing is as a family, as a team, teams work together. They support each other. They come to, they work toward a common goal. So treat each other. You're a team. So how do teams win games? How do teams achieve goals? How do teams get their team to the next level? By collaborating, working together, sharing ideas and things like that. And so one of the things too to help strengthen those family bonds is sometimes take a step away from the caregiving. If you have an opportunity, go bowling, go to some outing, go have a couple cocktails, do, whatever your family likes to do together that's fun and takes you away from the caregiving, and just make it a rule that whatever activity you choose to do, okay, this is caregiving subjects are off limits tonight. This is all about fun, having fun together, and that will go a long way to a family or a team that plays together stays together, so to speak. So try and do something and have some fun. And so the whole goal of that too also is to not look at your siblings as opponents or rivals, each rivaling, or each as an opponent during this caregiving process, but together as a team. So in closing, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Just briefly, just to summarize, we talked about resolving conflicts, setting boundaries, strengthening family bonds, active listening skills. There is an emotional toll that caregiving takes, but please emphasize, the value of you coming together as a team. Keep the communication open. Make sure that if you have out-of-town siblings, that they're kept in the loop. That's going to go a long way in making them feel part of the family, even if they can't be right there. If they're involved in what's going on, they feel still part of the team, part of the family. And I just encourage all of you to think about, this process and start sooner than later. I can't stress that more. The most stressful situation for a family is when everyone needs to come together during a crisis. A crisis will bring out the worst in everyone. That's just human nature. So if you can be proactive and start the conversation early on, the better off you'll be in the long run, because there's a lot more hurdles to overcome when there's a crisis that is going on, or a severe healthcare challenge with your family. So that's going to be it for Tuesday Tips. Thank you all for stopping by and spending a few minutes with us, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday for another Tuesday Tips. Take care. We'll see you soon.